I have come here to chew bubble gum and to take photographs. And I'm all out of bubble gum. Early in January of last year, I promised you a Nikon D5100 studio video, and I'm here to deliver. Now, it took a while to get this video out, and there are some reasons for that. The entire world shut down for one, so I wasn't actually able to get into the studio. Finally, after working on it almost all year, I got my garage clear enough where I could set up a makeshift studio, which is the one that you're seeing, so that we could get this camera and a few others out into the studio to have some photos with. And since it is Christmas time and I am wearing my K&F Concept Christmas hat, Ari and I decided we were going to do an ugly Christmas sweater photo session. Now, I ran into some issues while doing this. First of all, I don't have my proper studio lights here. The proper studio lights I have are locked away in my studio that I can't access currently. So I had to make do with some older Excaliburs that I have laying around, and the trigger doesn't work anymore. I had to trigger them using a speed light put on a really low setting, and then had the main studio light activated through the flash of the strobe, which is why we don't have any GoPro footage on top of the camera. So instead, I thought I'd be clever and attempt to mount it to my chest and do live view, much as we do with the mirrorless cameras that we're using. One little thing I ran into, and I completely forgot about because I'm so used to using mirrorless at this point, was the mirror has to get out of the way. And you guys have probably seen that in the video, and I've seen a lot of people ask on the Nikon D5100, the 5300, the 5600, as well as some of the 3000 series cameras, why it takes so long, why their shutter seems slow when they're taking a photo in live view. And I'm going to show you that that is completely normal. That is a normal problem with these cameras. So there's the live view. It has to shut the shutter. Boom, back up. So it actually does have to physically close the prism, open it up, set up the shutter, and it takes longer in live view. I recommend that unless you're doing video with one of the Nikon DSLRs or the Canon DSLRs, don't use live view. You won't get the photo that you want because of the way that live view works, is it has to close the prism, close the shutter, open the shutter to take the photo, bring it back to live view. You're going to miss the photo that you want to get. Do not use live view on a DSLR unless you're taking video. That's truly what it's there for. It takes way too long to take a photograph that way. So I just finished recording this video and I forgot to mention something very important. So this is getting sliced into the middle of it. I am giving away this setup. Not this camera exactly, I'm too attached to this camera, but I am giving away a Nikon D5100 and a Yongnuo 50mm f1.8, which is the exact setup we've used throughout this entire photo session in the studio. This is one of my favorite setups of all time. I'm going to give one of these setups away at 5,000 subscribers. So make sure that you guys are subscribed to my channel. And don't forget also, I do have a Patreon, so you can get exclusive behind the scenes access. My patrons knew about this photo session about a week and a half ago when I posted the early photos and some early footage there. So don't forget to subscribe, check out my Patreon. The link is down in the description. Back to the video. Now, as I had mentioned, the conditions for using this camera in the studio, my makeshift studio, were not ideal. I had to use an older studio light in which I hadn't used in a really long time. I had to find a softbox, and the only softbox I had laying around in the house that I could use was a little tiny Speedlight softbox made by Neewer, which is used for mobile photography, mobile flash usage when you're out and about, because you stick a Speedlight into it. And so these giant Excalibur 3200 flash just didn't quite fit, and it was way too bright for that softbox. That softbox only has one layer of white in it, whereas the majority of softboxes I use with a light of that size has 2 to 3 layers of film in there to disperse the lights. Some of the photos came out a little harsher than I wanted. Now, as you probably noticed, that these poses are really goofy and we're having a lot of fun with it, and that's really what we were trying to accomplish with this photo session, was to go out and kind of have a fun, enjoyable photo session with an ugly sweater, a velvet red background, and some Christmas lights. And the D5100 actually performed exactly as I expected it to. This is a fantastic little studio camera, especially if you have a proper trigger on it, and we're going to get a proper trigger. I have one ordered for us to use here at the house since I can't get into the studio yet with all of the craziness going on in the world. It's been 2 years since I've been able to get into the studio, which is really painful to me because, as you guys probably know who have been around my channel for a really long time, is I don't like natural light photography. I don't like taking photos outside. I have no control over the harshness of the light. I have no control over the shadows. It's frustrating to me, and studio work is actually my strong suit. That's actually where I perform the best at. So not being able to get into the studio for almost 2 years now, 2 years of this channel you guys have all been watching has been me taking photos outside, not even being able to show you my best work because the studio is really where I perform. And we've got a bunch of studio videos coming up because I got that makeshift studio set up in my garage, and we have a Godex now, so the Godex is going to help with that. It's not as harsh, and the softbox for that will work out better than the tiny little Neewer softbox on a full-size studio strobe. So that's kind of where we're coming from on that. So now we're going to talk a little bit about the Nikon D5100. Now, some of you may recall that I actually sold my Nikon D5300, and I sold that probably August or September, I believe. I think I told you guys about it in October, but August or September is actually when I sold the Nikon D5300, and I sold it so that I could buy a mirrorless full-frame camera. And again, I did that for the channel. There's nothing against DSLRs. DSLRs are fantastic. You know, everyone says mirrorless is the future, and for the most part that is true, but DSLRs will always have a place. But I could not bring myself to sell the Nikon D5100, and it's not just because this video, the original video I did on this, which I'm going to link right up there, is actually what made my channel take off. It's because I have a soft spot for the D5100. When I first got into portrait photography, I needed to upgrade from my Nikon D70. Well, I didn't need to upgrade from it. That's a fantastic little camera, but I wanted to upgrade from it, and I purchased a Nikon D5100. Not this one. The original D5100 I had died at like 155,000 shutter count, so I purchased this one last year, and so far I'm really, really loving this camera. Still, the Nikon D5100 is just so hardy. It's 16 megapixels, so it doesn't take up a lot of space on your computer, so if you're just getting into photography or you don't have a really high processing computer, 16 megapixels is perfect, especially because it is a crop sensor camera. It's super hardy. You have live view. You've got video capabilities. They're not the best, but you do have video capabilities. It is easy to use this camera. I think that's why the D5100 is so popular with hobbyist photographers. They are dirt cheap online. You can pick them up for like $100. They're super easy to use. There's plenty of batteries. It uses the Nikon F mount, which means you can just put any lens in the world on it that's made by Nikon or any of the third parties. Super simple to use, great dynamic range. It's probably a 3 or 4 stop dynamic range, which for a hobbyist crop sensor camera, that is absolutely fantastic. And from these studio shots and from these studio photos, you can probably tell that I really do love this camera, and the Nikon D5100 is a camera body that will never leave my collection. When this one eventually dies at 155, 160,000 shutters, I will get online and I will find me another one, and I will be really sad when I'm unable to find another Nikon D5100, when I'm unable to find a replacement D5100, because this one because the D5100 helped get my portrait photography off the ground. It helped my channel get off the ground. The ease of use, the colors that it captures, the dynamic range, the ease of use, and the image sizes, like, it's absolutely perfect almost in every way for all of that. There's not a whole lot of flaws with the D5100, and that's probably why it is such a beloved camera system. All right, let's get one close up, bring the lights up. Just like that, perfect. I want to thank you all for joining me today. The Nikon D5100, again, great camera. If you can find one, I definitely recommend that you pick it up. Great for hobbyists. I love it. It's a nice, cheap, light, easy to use camera, and it does wonderful work in a home studio. And I would like to get it into my proper studio, which hopefully we'll be able to do next year. But I do want to do more videos with this coming year, 2022. 2022 outlook is looking great. We've got a bunch of Samyang videos, a bunch of Sony videos, some Nikon videos, some Canon videos. We're going to rent a Fuji mirrorless, so hopefully that turns out as much fun as I'm expecting it to be. So if you guys like this kind of content, if you like this video, I produce a video like this once a week. Every day I upload a new short, whether it is doing news on photography, photography rumors, we're talking about the philosophy of photography, anything like that. So you get new content from me all the time. So please like, comment, and subscribe. Share this video if you enjoyed it. And I'll catch you all on the flip side. Bye.